Hi Amir. You're on mute, I think.
I went mute. Yeah. So the GraphQL is something you can query the data, whatever it is exposed. So now if I go to, I will show that in the next step, what I can access it, my consumer. I will give the URL. Okay. So you can directly see that what is exposed directly, you can see. But we don't have any documentation or anything. Whatever the GraphQL is exposed the data that you don't have document as of now. Maybe in the future, maybe if MuleSoft enable that exporting some document or anything, that might help. But as of now, you don't have that option.
Okay.
Hey Ami, Ashish here. You're able to hear me? Hello?
I'm going on mute. I don't know.
Yes,
Shalendra.
Ashish.
Yeah. Yes, Ashish.
Okay. So I posted that question. I was working on this data graph. I
Okay.
saw that limitation. You see the primary key. Primary key has to be string in my data type. Is that the limitation you also see?
Yes.
So
That's
this
correct.
is, yeah. So
Yes.
then how can I work with other customer ID can't be a string, right?
Okay, see, if even though it is coming as the number or anything, you can convert that into as a string, right? But if it is an actual string, if it is you want to convert into number, that is a problem.
Yeah,
but if it is a number, you can access as a string.
Yeah, no, it won't come in your when you're declaring at a primary key, right? It won't visible there. That's the problem. Now you go to your customer details, right? Define your customer ID as the integer.
Yes. Yes.
That
will
won't
not
be.
come.
That
will
is
not
not.
come.
Then
That
it's
will not come.
this completely disaster, right?
But yeah, so when you are designing your API, okay, you need to design in such a way it will, this is my primary key, okay. That is how you need to make it as a string itself, even if it is number, but you are going to access with it as a string.
No, but see, my point here is when you are defining your data type, how can we, restrict people saying that? You got my point, right?
Correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
So that is the restrictions as of now. It is there. Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't know why. Why they are putting limitation like that? Because when the first time when I worked on use case, I saw, oh, what is this, man?
Yeah, that is correct. Still, there are some more limitations we will be talking about. After this. Yes. Yeah.
That is.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, so okay, let me query this data as of now because of we will add it another API later. So you can see you can add the existing API, application. So that I can add it, or you can create a new application over here. Okay, anything we can do. I'm going to create a new one over here, and I can say something over here, data graph demo. Okay, and I can give the description and all. And okay, so there is a problem actually here. You need to browse down. It is going to be go down. Okay, let me scroll down, click on next. It is creating some credentials and all over here. It will generate a client ID, secret ID. It is going to be part of your Anypoint exchange. If we go, and you can see those normally in applications list also, whatever the application which I created right now. So now we can see over here, you can write a queries over here. Now I have two methods which I can access it. Get customer by ID, okay, which is going to have the parameter as ID that I can pass it. Okay, this should be passed as a string. That is the reason it is written, that limitation currently it is having. So my API have already customer by ID. You can see I will take it one of the ID over here from this. This is my ID, and I can pass it over here. Now I don't need to access all the data from the customer API. Now I want to access certain data. Those certain data, when a control space I entered, you can access with that. Now I want to access email ID. we can get it. You can see now the phone number is not showing over here, the phone. The visibility, I made it as hidden. That is the reason the customer cannot access that URL now, that element. That's it. Now we can give these details and run it. It will call my API, whatever the URL I have configured in my second step. From that API, these details are going to bring over here. Clear? This one? So the data, whatever you want to access it. Now you can't access directly even the address data type over here like this. Can I access it? You can see. You can see, but you need to mention what you need to get it from the address data type. Also, I want to get is the zip code. So you need to mention whatever the elements you want to query, those elements you can query from here. Clear this one? Now I tested my data graph now. Okay, using this query. Now I want to access even another details of what you can do, but that should be available to access it, right? My unified schema doesn't have all of them. Now you can go to the list of APIs. I have only customer API is added. Let me add a new API. Add API. Now I'm going to add fulfillment API. Click on that, configure the URL. Now you can see I'm going to select this version, latest version, select. Now I need to give the URL of that API. So I'm going to add a new URL. So I have a fulfillment API URL. I'm going to take it from here and I'm going to give over here, save it. Now click on provide authorization. Now over here, my fulfillment API has client ID, secret ID, the client enforcement is enabled. I can select the custom headers over here. I can pass it over here, the client ID, secret ID. Okay, so let me add it that client ID, which I need to configure. So let me take it from one of these APIs. I'm going to pass it over here. And the second thing is client secret I want to configure. So this is how add a header. I'm going to pass it to client secret. And this is my client secret for this API. I'm going to add it over here. This is how we can configure the authorization mechanism. If it is a OAuth, you can select, basic auth or anything, you can select this. But as of now, this is only it is supporting. Now, that is how we can pass the security mechanism. Click on provide preview the schema. Now you can see, again, this fulfillment API has list of fulfillments. I can get it and get the fulfillment by ID, only this. Now, if you see this, if I want to get all the fulfillment, I need to pass the client ID, secret ID. If I want to get only the fulfillment, particular fulfillment ID details, then I need to pass the client ID, secret ID as well as ID over here. And along with the query, I have a fulfillment details over here. Okay, so I can access it that way. Now click on edit schema because of already my schema is available. So the unified schema, I'm going to add this queries as well as the data types into that. You can see the items and you need to make it visible if you want to collaborate with the unified schema that you can do, and you can see what all the details we can access it over here. And fulfillment details you can see over here, and I don't have anything over here to collaborate the data types. That's why you can see the enable collaboration is not done over here. You can see at least one query method with exactly one mandatory input arguments returned in this type. That means when you are going to return that, it should be the mandatory. Okay, so that's why it is enable collaboration is not done over here. Okay, but we can still add those data types into my unified schema. Still, I think I haven't taken right API now because I have to show these link APIs. I will do that in the next step. Okay, so nothing, the same elements are available over here. So I'm not mapping those elements or data types over here. I'm adding as it is to unified schema. Okay, so let it add it this, and while it is updating, I'm going to add one more API to link and show that even merging those data types. So I will take, I think I have an order API which is having address data type. I'm going to take this one, configure the URL, confirm the selection, and let me copy the URL of the order API. So I'm going to add this URL over here and provide authorization. I do not have any authorization for this also. No auth I'm selecting over here. Preview the schema. Now if you see this, I have these two methods and there is a billing address which is having similar data types what I have current in a customer API. So either I can do adding them or linking these objects. Okay, edit schema. Now over here, order details, you can enable the collaboration with the order by order by ID. Okay, so over here I can select primary key, whatever the string type I defined over here, and click on confirm. Now as well as if I select here the down the billing, okay, let me enable the hidden fields. Okay, billing address and customer I want to enable, and products also, and status also I want to enable it. It has a different data types. You can see different data types are there. Now if I take customer over here, this is having these elements and I want to link it with, okay, and you can see this is customer details. Okay, what I'm going to do, this is customer API. Initially when I added that API related this one data type. Now I want to link with this one, right? This ID I'm going to match with these two elements. So I'm adding the two over here. This is how we can link those two data types. And if you don't want to keep it the customer details, you want to keep it different name, you can keep it with a different name also over here, unified customer details or anything. If you want to put it, you can put it that also. And you can see from the customer type, okay, you are taking this customer details and this is from this, it is going to save it and save these changes. Now as soon as you do this, it is going to link the unified schema data type and this the order API data types over here. Similarly, I have a merging purpose over here. There is another billing address over here. If I take a billing address, the billing address is from this current API, that is order API, but my unified schema already have, I think, yeah, address should be there already. My unified schema should have address also. Okay, is it linking? Yeah, it is linking purpose I'm showing. This is not, I don't want to link it actually, I want to merge it actually. So this is merging. So address here, you can see, this is the address which is unified schema already have. Okay, now I want to merge those two elements. You can see this current type is billing address. The unified schema has address data type. You can see these are the different elements and all whatever it is having. This is what it is showing now. Now you can merge the two confirmation. What will happen now? Your billing address become address over here. It will be renamed automatically because of we are merging this. I'm saying that confirm it, and you can see visibly over here the current data type is billing address. The unified schema has address. Now the two has merged into unified the latest address over here. Clear? So that is how we can link and merge the data types, and click on add to unified schema now. So now it is going to add that linking data types as well as merging data types into your unified schema. Now I'm sure it is going to take a couple of minutes again. So you can see it is adding your system order API to the graph. Okay, so even I think it is even before that also it is still taking some time. It will take now. So the first API when you add it, it will take lesser time, and when you add it more APIs, right, it is going to take more time. The reason is it needs to be updated with the existing schemas and all, so it will take some time. So we'll give some time. So meanwhile, I will take some more questions. Then it is, yeah, I think the previous one is done. Now the system order API is updating. It will take a couple of minutes again, this one. Then I will execute and show that, okay? Meanwhile, let me take any questions. How the error message get populated since we have not defined schema for error? Yes. So, okay, in this example, I do not have the error data types as a return type. That is the reason it is not there. But if you have in your response the error data type, so that is going to come over here. You can see in the unified schema, the error details can be over here, the data type, and that is how we can query those, even the error data type also. How can I pass different authorization here in run query in a single request? That was my question personally. Okay, understood. So I think during execution, I will show that. The reason is now we have seen one of the API, the fulfillment API, when I added, I passed client ID, secret ID, right? So when you are going to query during that time, you are going to pass the client ID, secret ID. But if I have configured as a basic authentication, that will have a different parameters. Okay, username, password parameters, it will be there. So now when you are going to query, in the query, you need to pass that authorization details. But I will show that in even the while execution. Because of we added that mechanism, so that is the reason as a parameters it went. But actually, when you are going to execute, run this query, right, you are not, okay, still it is going to take some time. So when you are going to query, you are not going to pass it over here any authorization mechanism details, but in the query you are going to pass, because of as of now, you can see you are passing only the ID over here, right? When I'm going to query the fulfillment details, here it is going to allow 3 parameters, client ID, secret ID, that you are going to pass. In case of if we have configured basic authentication, that username, password as a parameters, it will go. Okay, that is in the query, you need to pass it. I hope that might be answered your question. But if not, you can, yeah, I will show even the execution part. That time you can ask me again. Number of APIs that can be added. Yes, that's there is a limitation. Up to 250 APIs you can add it into the data graph. Okay, that I will talk about the limitation part again. Can I get the, okay, I think Mohit, I think if the authorization of the API is worth 2, where the token get the refresh, can we have this configured in the data graph? No, that is not still not there. I have shown already only those options currently it is provided by the data graph. So we have only the client ID, secret ID, basic auth, and some policies if we have applied through the custom headers, you can pass that. Only those mechanisms as of now it is supported by the data graph. Okay, still updating it is. Yeah, any other questions we can take it, or if anybody wants to share, I think you can share.
Amir, I had a question. Like, suppose if you pass the wrong key, so do we get an error or do we get?
Yes, we will
not?
get an error.
Okay.
I will show that. Okay. Okay, I'm passing this wrong ID over here, but I'm trying to access these elements. If I'm going to run this query, you can see that the field this first name was declared as a not null type, but it is code is involved in the receiving data or wrongly returned data value. That means it's not returning these elements, but my response, whatever I defined in my RAML, this is mandatory. But it's not going to give you the exact error, that one. But okay, I will show that one thing over here. Okay, that is error data type actually. over here, I don't have error data type over here. If I have error data type, that will give. Okay, so that is okay. So there is one more thing. The status should be there. The status also not there over here, but in another API, I have a status field that will give fail or success. That response it will be shown that we can access. But when you are trying to access the first name, but in my response I defined as a mandatory, that is not returning. That's why it is giving this error. So that is how the errors are going to return in a query. So all the queries, so in the query, if you whatever the elements you are trying to access it, if they are the mandatory, those errors are going to show here, not null values. Okay, that is how the errors are going to show over here, because of whatever the elements you are going to query, for all the queries elements, it is going to give you a different errors. Now you can see it is up to date over here. Okay, now let me put it Control Z over here. Now I want to access these elements from the customer API, and then I want to get some more details from the fulfillment API. You can see somebody has that authorization mechanism. I want to pass it right over here. You can see when I put it the control space, you can pass these three parameters: client ID, client secret, and okay, let me put it this into within a double quotation. I need to add it that client ID, secret ID over here. Then I need to fulfillment ID based on the ID I want to get it. Okay, these three things I need to pass it. So now let me get it that client ID, secret ID from here. My API has already. This is client ID, Control A, Control C, and I'm going to pass it this client ID over here. And then I have a client secret over here. I'm going to pass it over here. This is how we can pass it the different secure mechanism. So because of when you add it over there in a data graph, during that time itself, it will configure as a parameters over here. Okay, username password also is going to pass it as it is like this. Now let me get a details. I have this ID related fulfillment details. I want to fetch it, so I can pass it that ID over here. Maybe the query I need to check again. So now I might close this. Maybe let me copy this query because of I'm not able to see all the data. It is closed over here. I can put it one more braces over here. Now whatever it is exposed by this method, now the ID I want to get it, and tracking company I want to get it, and status I need to get it. When I run this query now, you can see now, okay, this is invalid syntax is coming something. I need to check my, okay, yes, there is extra over here. Okay, still invalid. Let me see, copy. Client IDs, client secret, ID, which I'm passing over here. Looks good over here as of now. Let me try to remove this. Okay, Control Z. I'm getting only the customer details as of now. Let me try to get it these details also similarly. Maybe I will access separately, then I will try to add it because of there is some query issue. Yes, it is correct only over here. Now customer by ID, this is the details which I can access similarly. So I can write this query over here. You can see now, this is from the fulfillment API. This is from the customer API. I can access these details.
Amit, I think
Yes.
fulfillment by ID is the child for customer by ID. If you go inside
Actually, yes.
that, yeah. So you
That's
know,
correct.
yeah. If you write
That's correct.
No, previous query I'm saying. In previous query also you can correct it. Yeah. If you go to inside that method, this fulfillment, if you copy inside. Yeah. So yeah. Go
okay,
inside.
it is outside.
Yeah, it's outside.
No, you can query from the outside. Okay, you can see you can't access it within this. Okay, so for example, if I access it over here within the customer API, you can't access that that separate. This is separate API call. Okay, this is separate query actually, I can say.
Okay,
because
fulfillment is okay. Fulfillment is implemented. Order is be connected with customer ID, right?
Yes, that's correct. Okay. Now, similarly, whatever exposed methods, when you put control space, it is going to come over here. Orders, when I say, so over here, I can access it, list of orders, whatever the details I have. Billing address, okay. So billing address have some details, the name I want to access it from this, okay. So, is it a query issue? I don't think so, but let me try. Invalid syntax still, okay. So this queries, right? This is query GraphQL. We need to learn little bit so to access this queries. Otherwise, here it is going to give anyways this mechanism control space actually. So ID, I can posit something over here. I have some order ID. Let me get that order ID. Get order IDs. And I can posit this and we can access it this. So I can check the status as of now. So we can get it. These queries you need to write. So you can see the status is in progress. This is how we can get it. Now I just want to, we have time less. So let me copy this URL. You can try to copy this URL, okay? And you can test it from the Postman itself, this directly also. I'm going to pass it over here. It is get method. And you can see this is the client ID. So what I'm going to do over here in a headers, I'm going to pass it client ID as this one. And over here, the secret, client secret, this is my client secret, which I'm going to pass it over here. And over here, now we need to pass a query, right? When you want to pass a query, go to the body, query, GraphQL provided by the Postman over here. Whatever I have over here, this GraphQL copy this query and pass it from here from the Postman, and you can query directly from here also. You can see the data is going to return over here also. So this is how also we can test it from the external also, not only from the data graph. You can access this and the URL you are going to get it from this data graph over here. Okay, that is external. And we can troubleshoot. You can see the response log. We can check the logs also, how much time and all it took and all. What are the logs? So for this this transaction ID, this is the request details and all it is going to have. So you can track it the logs over here, as well as if you want to see the trace the query, run this query, and it is going to give you over here the response timings also. So if you see the customer by ID, it took 126 milliseconds, and to get only the first name, it is less than 1 milliseconds it took. So that means using this data graph, what will happen now? You don't have to access 100 fields from the customer API. If you have 100 fields, whatever the customer need, those fields it can be retrieved. So the response time also can be less, and the whatever the information required with a single query. Now with this single query I have shown, you are going to get it from the 3 different APIs data, right? That is how the data graph is going to help you out over here. Clear this one? So that is the demo part. So maybe quick, I have done it over here now. So shown that how we can add into data graph, how we can merge it, link it. as well as collaboration, how to add it, and then multiple APIs queries with a single query, multiple APIs data, how we can get it from the single query. That is also I have shown over here. Okay, so okay, let me talk about quickly the some of the limitations. Okay, so then I will take some questions again. So somebody asked, is there any limit to add it? So I already mentioned it can get only method will be used over here. Okay, and REST APIs with the RAML OS specification only going to support as of now. Not sure in the future by what MuleSoft is going to provide. Up to 250 APIs can be in a single unified schema. You can add it. And again, so my API, each API has 1,000 fields. Then you can add it only up to 16,000 fields only to the unified schema. And unified schema downstream API calls. You can maximum of 150 concurrent and ongoing calls for unified schema. That means, so now we are added 3 API calls, right? You can add it in a query only up to 150 concurrent ongoing calls. Sorry, not this exactly, sorry. So only I access it from the postman, right? Similarly, if anybody want to access it, that unified schema, only 150 clients can access at the same time. Okay, and the timeout for call, so that means for each call it is going to take 5 seconds maximum timeout. Okay, this is the timeout, by default it is there. And for each response data, it is 5 MB data, you can access it. Now you can see, maybe let me show over here. I can see here 1200 no, sorry, 560 bytes it is access the data, but maximum it can be accessible 5 MB in the response data. Then another limitation is, for each query, 30 seconds is the timeout per query. Okay, maximum you can access it 100 selected fields per the query. That means from the customer API you can only access it only 100 elements, selected fields, I can say. Okay, only 100 fields only you can query it. That is another limitation. Then the another thing is, if you see my steps over here, my query, if I go to over here, from the customer API, I want to access address over here. Within the address, I want to access it some more elements, right? The name or something. Similarly, if I have a sub data types over here, so you can access it up to 6 levels only. I think yes, up to 6 levels only you can access it. Now my length is over here. This is root 1, then this is the second level, right? Sub level. So like this, you can put it up to 6 levels and maximum depth of 100 fields for the query. So that means the depth is over here. This is one depth. This is another depth. That is a root depth, which is internal depth is this one, the second depth. Okay, so 100 fields and 6 depth is we can access it. That are the limitations as of now in a data graph.
Yeah, we can mention that primary key also limitation.
Yes. And good, but I haven't maybe that much put on that, but yes, good, thank you for that, Ashish. It is even learning for me. Yeah. So that's it on demo part. Maybe last I went it some quickly to show that. Is there any encryption process for the fields and queries? It is kind of a query language, I can say. If you learn about GraphQL more, you might explore those all. Okay, the encryption process as well as queryings and all, you can get it from the GraphQL. So you can learn this something. This language is going to help you out for this, even for the data graph, how we can access the data and all. This is going to help you out more. If we have a calling two APIs and one API failed with a timeout and another failed with a call and one call, okay, it is going to return the errors, whatever it is failed over here. So let me show you over here. I don't have this data over here. If I try to access it, what will happen? You can see. I think it is completely giving an error. That is also new thing now for me. So you can see it is completely, sorry, it is going to return the errors as well as whatever the API data you are accessing, that details also it is going to return. That means the failed details are going to show over here under errors. Under data, what it is successful calls, that data is going to return. Okay.
Yeah, Ashish.
I have a question.
Yes, Asif.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Nothing, man. Yeah, go ahead.
So like the response logs which we see, right?
Hmm.
Is it following cloud where we have?
Okay, good question. Maybe yes, maybe, but I'm not sure yet. Okay, this one because of I haven't found anything, but I hope it might be the same because of it is going to store it in a Anypoint platform. It might be applicable the same thing.
Because the filter which I see, so that's
Yes.
where like
Yes. But yes, I'm not sure completely, but yes, but it is as per Anypoint platform. It might have the same limitation for this also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could see data graph is a competitor for our experience API, but I could see very good application for system API also, because from system API we are pulling data to the process API, and from process API it's going to the experience API, and then it goes to the client, right? So a lot of pressure on the transport, when we are doing transport. So if we do that at a system level also, because we see, even I need a one field, I'm pulling entire data, object from this system layer. And then anyway, those are all calls, right? So anyway, we are using network. So right now, if I see the only data graph is there on the experience API, but maybe I don't know in future, or I'm just putting thought if it could be a good application for system API also, right?
That's correct. Even currently also, you expose as a data graph this URL. Now, if you want from the process API, if you want to call any API, right, for getting only one element, it is better to not to use directly system API call. You can use directly the data graph call to query only that single element also.
Yeah, because wherever I'm reading, right, it's just saying that for multiple experience API you can use this. But I could see the good application for system API also. Because from there only we are pushing data to all the layers. If there itself I put a bottleneck, right? Okay, you are asking me only one field, I'll give only one field.
One field, yes, that is good thing, yes.
Yeah.
So we can use that way also, this one. So yes, so as of now, it is going to support only the get methods. So hope in the future it is going to maybe useful. But one thing is data graph. This is querying the data always. The GraphQL also, whatever it is mostly for the querying that results. Okay, so that how much it is possible, maybe in the future we need to see. Even can it be used or anything, we need to see also. And another thing, when I mentioned, as soon as I add any API to the data graph, it is going to add the metadata to my data graph, right? But if we have a post method in my API RML, is it going to add those data types? No, it's not going to add those data types into any data graph in a unified schema. It is going to add the data types which are from the only get methods. Okay, that is the point to note. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Ruxana and Ravi, I think it is taking more time. That's fine, right?
Yeah, so we are 5 minutes beyond, and that
Yeah.
is not an issue. So we can take more questions if anybody want to ask.
Yes, the web services, yes, right? It used to take more time and all. I think this is going to help you more because of web services might have hundreds of fields and all, which will help, getting the required fields and all. Yeah.
Thank you, Amir, from my side.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah, Amit, this is a wonderful actually session. We wanted to have this quiz session also. So if anybody want to ask question, it is fine. If not, then we can proceed.
We will go for yes.
Thank you, Amir, for your session. To be honest, even though it is more than 1.5 hours, it passed just like that. Even when I just got, then only I realized that it is 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And
Hope somebody might be not bored or anything. I hope it is interesting.
this
As
is
I
a new
promised.
thing, right?
Yes.
Definitely, it will keep evolving as the time goes. Like, I mean, also I would like to thank Ashish for sharing
Yes.
his experience. Right? I think people have just started using it. I think there will be some limitations. Yeah, it's really. I don't know. I think very few people might have got a chance to work, but it's really good, right?
To be frankly, it is started, released around first week of May.
Yeah.
Still, the MuleSoft has updated the document bit late also, after a week or something. They keep on updating still now also. So, in the mid of May also, there is no much documentation also for this. Yeah. So, good thing to learn this one. Even though if it is using in your organization or not, but try to explore and try to implement it in your projects also where it is possible. Also.
Yeah, because in our MuleSoft Connect also they talked about this feature, right? That means
yes,
we can understand what is the importance that MuleSoft is giving, and definitely I see whatever the limitation that we talked about, they will definitely overcome on that.
that's correct. Yes. It is going to, it is just started this product, so a lot of improvements we can see.
Ashish, you mentioned just now, you mentioned, right? What is the similar product or feature? You said who similar to that? Is there any other product using a similar kind of thing?
No, Ravi. No.
No, I think you said something, right? I thought similar feature, maybe some other integration product also using. That's what you mentioned about some name that I just want to check.
No, not any other product, but we have a GraphQL already. Ravi.
Yeah, GraphQL already there.
Yeah. So this can be, but it is, you need to know that what fields you can access it. But using this data graph, you can put it control space. You can see what it is exposed. I think somebody asked the question also. So I think I forgot that question might be. So the query, documentation, right? Yes. So over here, when I put a control space, this customer by ID exposes only these elements. That is how we can see as of now. But we don't have any documentation as of now for this to export it. Yeah.
So this is for developer friendly, but
yes, that's correct.
Documentation in case of, like, suppose I want to show to the external client or
yes.
somebody.
So as of now, we don't have such one. Maybe I hope it will come soon. Sure.
A few more points when you are adding this query, right, inside your data view. Okay, so you'll face a few issues when we are adding it, so be careful there, because if you have order by and all those things, right, you need to use dollar there, and then you need to escape that dollar and properly need to write it.
Yes, that's correct. So in a query language, so the GraphQL, if you are aware of, we can declare as a variables and we can pass it for another APIs and all. So that if you more explore on query language, how we can do this API query, then you can, better way you can write this query also. As of now, I directly, written these queries, right? You can make it better, these queries also.
Yeah, it's actually moving towards functional programming language, right? So
yes.
Our world is going that way, but functional programming, hides a lot of things. Okay, so you need to be very careful when you're using those things.
Yes.
So, and hard to understand. Haskell. I took one course like the language named Haskell. Okay, so I'll give one example. If you convert our operating system code into Haskell, right, it will be in thousands only.
Yes.
It will be in thousands. Right now we have millions of lines, right?
Yes.
If you convert it to Haskell, it will be thousands.
Okay.
But the readability part and that complexity part, a lot of things will be there. So that's one thing. I wanted to add something, but I forgot.
Okay. But really good. Thank you for sharing that also. It adds on to what we present here.
Yeah.
It should be like, present is, learning from each other. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you said right. This feature added in May first week, right? I started spreading, about this data graph in that week itself. Okay, I posted to 2-3 videos.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So I really like GraphQL, okay, because it is there. It started by Facebook, and then it's if you use GraphQL with MongoDB, right? It is awesome combination.
Yeah.
Awesome combination.
I saw this data graph in last year, maybe MuleSoft Connect. They presented in the MuleSoft Connect, I think so. It was not released, that product, but they presented very well that time. Okay, I was so interested at the time, because if even though those the presentation what they have done, the linkage and all, right, each objects and all, it is clearly mentioned over there. So I was eagerly waiting that time, but I never saw that. But recently, when I saw this product release, I was really interested, started exploring more on it. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so thank you. I think we can. I think if there is no questions, then we will take it and quiz part. Roxana, is that fine?
Yeah, sure. So thank you, Ashish. Thank you, Amir, for sharing a wonderful session. Let me just share my screen.
Okay, you are going to share that, or can we go
Yes.
with this? Maybe time constraint.
Okay, but here we cannot poll the results.
Okay, you want to give a results, is it? Or we can somebody note it the answers. Is that fine? Who put it in chat and all?
Okay, we can do one thing. I'm sharing you a link. You can open it.
No, in the PPT it is there, right? So what I'm telling is, I will show a question over here. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. Anything is fine.
Yeah. So